Hollywood loves a scandal, but nothing sets the tabloids on fire quite like a massive age gap in a high-profile gay romance. We aren't just talking about a few years, we're talking decades. From legendary fashion icons dating adult film stars to closeted legends forcing their young lovers to undergo plastic surgery. These stories blur the line between fairy tale and nightmare. Some of these men found eternal love in the face of judgment, while others spiraled into chaos, arrests, and public meltdowns. Who survived the scrutiny, and whose hearts were left shattered? Calvin Klein. Fashion legend Calvin Klein has always been known for his minimalist aesthetic, but his personal life became the subject of maximalist drama when, at age 67, he entered a relationship that shocked the New York social scene. Klein began dating Nick Gruber, a young man nearly 50 years his junior. Klein, accustomed to a life of immense privilege and luxury, attempted to mold this relationship into a modern-day fairy tale.
He spared no expense, most notably throwing an extravagant Studio 54-themed bash for Gruber's 21st birthday. The party was a who's who of the fashion world, attended by icons like Anna Wintour and Donna Karan, featuring a cake topped with 21 sparklers to symbolize his young partner's milestone. However, Klein's attempt to insulate their love with luxury failed. The relationship took a dark turn as his partner's legal troubles mounted.
Despite his power and influence, Klein ultimately had to make the difficult decision to end the romance after an arrest for assault and drugs shattered the illusion of their perfect life, proving that even a fashion empire cannot buy a happy ending. Thrust into the spotlight at only 20 years old, Nick Gruber became infamous as the much younger boyfriend of Calvin Klein. Before meeting the fashion mogul, Gruber had a controversial background involving gay adult films, a past that the media quickly latched onto. For a brief moment, Gruber lived a life most can only dream of, celebrated by the elite at lavish parties thrown in his honor. However, the pressure and the lifestyle appeared to be too much. Gruber's narrative arc in this relationship was defined by chaos rather than romance. Following a highly publicized arrest for drug possession and assault, his relationship with Klein collapsed. Although there were rumors of a reconciliation the following summer, Gruber could not stabilize his public image. He was reportedly ejected from a major party on Fire Island, further damaging his reputation. In a final, shocking twist that confused the public and his former admirers, Gruber later declared that he was no longer gay, distancing himself entirely from the community and the man who had once given him the world. Christopher Isherwood remains one of the most profound chroniclers of 20th century gay life, but his own love story was perhaps his greatest narrative. In 1953, at the age of 48, Isherwood fell in love with an 18-year-old named Bachardy. At the time, this 30-year age gap drew immense social scrutiny and judgment from a conservative society. Yet Isherwood saw something in the young man that others didn't. The relationship was not merely romantic, it was deeply creative. Isherwood used his turbulent but passionate connection with Bachardy as fuel for his work. During a difficult period in the relationship, Isherwood wrote the acclaimed novel, A Single Man. In a twisted act of creative coping, he killed off the character based on Bachardy in the book to imagine how he would survive if they actually separated. Despite facing infidelities, quarrels, and the pressures of their age difference, Isherwood remained committed. He stayed with his young partner until his own death in 1986, proving that their connection was an intellectual and emotional bond that transcended the physical. Don Bachardy met Christopher Isherwood. He was just 18 years old, facing a world that viewed him with suspicion. He carried a reputation as a hustler and struggled deeply with his own identity in the shadow of a famous older partner. However, Bachardy was not content to simply be a passive partner. He became a muse. His presence was so impactful that he inspired major literary works, yet he also admitted to being a source of chaos. Bachardy recalled a decade into their relationship where he caused a lot of trouble, leading to temporary separations and intense strife. he had to fight to carve out his own space within the relationship, weathering storms of infidelity and public judgment. Over time, the dynamic shifted from a scandalous fling to a lifelong partnership. Bachardy matured into an artist in his own right, staying by Isherwood's side for over 3 decades. Today, he continues to live in their shared Santa Monica home, serving as a living keeper of their history and a testament to a love that survived the odds. Gerald McCullouch, known to TV audiences for his role on CSI and the indie hit Bear City, found himself at the center of a heartwarming modern age gap story. As a prominent figure in the LGBTQ+ community, McCullouch's decision to go public with a much younger partner was a significant moment of visibility. He began a relationship with Derrick Gordon, a man celebrated for breaking barriers in sports. McCullouch helped navigate their relationship into the public eye during a high-profile event, the NYC GLAAD Media Awards. This wasn't just a date night, it was a statement. By walking the red carpet with Gordon, McCullouch showcased a relationship built on mutual admiration rather than just physical attraction. Their appearance together was celebrated as a milestone for representation, bridging the gap between Hollywood acting circles and the athletic world. For McCullouch, this relationship represented a beautiful new chapter, characterized by bravery and the willingness to love openly, sending a message of hope to others who fear judgment for who they choose to love. Derrick Gordon had already secured his place in history as the first openly gay basketball player in the NCAA, making him a role model for countless young athletes. However, his personal life garnered just as much attention when he confirmed his romance with actor Gerald McCullouch. Gordon, representing a younger generation of gay men who are increasingly comfortable living their truth, was vocal about his affection. After their public debut at the GLAAD Media Awards, Gordon took to social media to express the depth of his feelings, tweeting that it was a night he never wanted to end. This level of vulnerability from a male athlete was rare and powerful. Gordon's journey with McCullouch highlighted the progress being made in acceptance across mainstream media and sports. By sharing his joy and his relationships so openly, Gordon helped normalize age gap relationships, shifting the narrative from scandal to celebration and proving that shared values matter more than birth years. Jonathan Adler, now hailed as the king of chic in the interior design world, started his most important partnership back in 1994. At the time, he was just a young, aspiring ceramic artist. His life changed when a mutual friend set him up on a blind date with Simon Doonan, convinced they would hit it off. Adler brought a refreshing, distinctly American directness to the relationship, a trait that immediately captivated his British counterpart. Unlike the whirlwind, tragic romances often seen in Hollywood, Adler's approach to love was steady and grounded in creativity. He and Doonan built a life that intertwined their professional successes with their personal bond. It wasn't a rush to the altar. They spent 14 years together before finally marrying in 2008. Adler's story is one of endurance and mutual respect. He evolved from a young potter into a design icon alongside his partner, redefining what it means to be a power couple by proving that two creative forces can amplify rather than overshadow one another. As the creative director for Barney's, Simon Doonan was a heavy hitter in the fashion world, known for his wit and British sensibilities. When he met the younger Jonathan Adler in 1994, Doonan was struck by Adler's candid nature, something he noted was unusual compared to his own upbringing in England. For Doonan, the relationship was a meeting of minds as much as hearts. Despite the cultural differences and the age gap, they clicked instantly. Doonan's narrative is one of patience and long-term commitment. He didn't rush the relationship. Instead, he and Adler nurtured their bond for nearly 2 decades. Their marriage in 2008 was a celebration of a love that had already stood the test of time. Doonan's life with Adler became a blueprint for successful creative gay partnerships. By sharing a life built on mutual creativity and respect, Doonan showed that the fairy tale isn't found in a single dramatic moment, but in the decades of shared passion and collaboration that follow. Liberace,
The legendary entertainer Liberace was the epitome of flamboyance on stage, but his private life was a dark web of secrets and control. In the late 1970s, he hired a young man named Scott Thorson as his driver, sparking a 5-year romance that was as extravagant as it was disturbing. Liberace, desperate to maintain his youth and public image while deeply closeted, projected his insecurities onto Thorson. He showered the younger man with lavish gifts, luxury trips, and a spot in his Las Vegas show. However, Liberace's love came with a terrifying condition. He pressured Thorson into undergoing bizarre cosmetic surgeries to physically resemble a younger version of Liberace himself. This relationship was defined by a complex power dynamic where affection was used as a tool for manipulation.
Liberace's need to hide his sexuality while living an opulent lifestyle eventually led to the relationship's implosion, marked by betrayal and a lack of genuine intimacy behind the candelabra.
Scott Thorson. Scott Thorson's life changed forever when he was hired as a driver for Liberace, eventually becoming the lover of the world-famous pianist. What started as a job turned into a surreal existence inside a gilded cage. Thorson was drawn deep into Liberace's glamorous world, eventually performing as a dancer in his Vegas residency. But the price of admission was high. Thorson became the subject of Liberace's obsession with youth, enduring plastic surgeries to reshape his face at his partner's request. The psychological toll of this transformation was immense. Thorson lived in a reality distorted by wealth and secrecy, where he was both a pampered partner and a molded object. When the relationship inevitably fell apart, it ended in heartbreak and bitterness, later immortalized in the film Behind the Candelabra. Thorson's story serves as a cautionary tale about the dark side of age gap romances when they are fueled by narcissism and an imbalance of power. Marc Jacobs, one of the most influential fashion designers of his generation and former creative director of Louis Vuitton, is no stranger to living life out loud. His relationship with Brazilian adult film actor Harry Lewis was a high-profile collision of two very different worlds. With a 26-year age difference, Jacobs embraced the romance with the same boldness he applies to his designs. He frequently documented their life together on social media, sharing snapshots from exotic destinations that showcased a lifestyle of extreme luxury and passion. Jacob seemed to revel in the whirlwind nature of the connection. However, the intensity that fueled their romance eventually burned it out. The relationship was as dramatic in its ending as it was in its beginning. When the split happened, it was public and final, proving that even for a man who dictates the trends of the world, maintaining a relationship under the glare of the public eye and social media scrutiny is a difficult design to master. Harry Lewis transitioned from being an adult film actor to a fixture in the high fashion world through his relationship with Marc Jacobs. The romance was a sensation, thrusting Lewis into a mainstream spotlight filled with luxury travel and paparazzi attention. He and Jacobs seemed to be living a dream, bridging a massive age gap with apparent ease. However, Louis was the one to break the news when the fairy tale ended. He took to Instagram with a dramatic, symbolic post, a photo of the couple inside a shattered picture frame. In his caption, he announced they had decided not to continue as boyfriends, though they still loved one another. Louis' handling of the breakup showed a mix of modern transparency and emotional maturity. He made it clear that while the passion and luxury were real, the compatibility required for a forever relationship was missing, shattering the hopes of fans who had rooted for them.
Cheyenne Jackson, a talented actor known for his work on 30 Rock and Broadway, found himself the subject of intense gossip following the end of a 13-year relationship. The media frenzy began when photos surfaced of Jackson sporting a shaved head and new tattoos, a classic sign of a post-breakup reinvention. At 39 years old, Jackson didn't wait long to find love again.
He quickly entered a relationship with a younger, aspiring actor, Jason Landau. The speed of this transition raised eyebrows and sparked rumors, but Jackson appeared undeterred. His connection with Landau was described as intense and fiery, moving at a whirlwind pace.
For Jackson, this new relationship represented a second chance and a shift in perspective.
He moved from the heartbreak of a long-term split directly into an engagement and marriage within a single year. Jackson's story is one of seizing happiness when it appears, refusing to let the end of one chapter prevent the immediate and passionate beginning of another.
Jason Landau, an actor turned entrepreneur, met Cheyenne Jackson in 2013 and instantly became half of one of Hollywood's most watched couples. Landau came from a different background than the Broadway star, having transitioned from acting into the business world. Despite the scrutiny surrounding Jackson's recent split, Landau and Jackson connected deeply over shared values and a desire for family. Their romance moved at lightning speed, meeting, getting engaged, and marrying all within the span of roughly a year. Landau brought a sense of stability and future building to the relationship. In 2016, the couple welcomed twins, solidifying their bond and silencing the critics who viewed their romance as a rebound.
Landau's journey with Jackson has been defined by authenticity. They frequently share their life on social media, showing that their whirlwind start has settled into a grounded, loving family life built on mutual devotion. 15 British Olympic diver captivated the world not just with his athletic prowess, but with his bravery. In 2013, he posted a heartfelt YouTube video coming out and revealing that he was in a relationship with a man. That man was Dustin Lance Black, a screenwriter 20 years his senior. Daley, who was only 20 at the time, admitted that love had given him the courage to be his true self. At first, he kept Black's identity private, but as their connection deepened, Daley grew more confident. A pivotal moment for Daley was when Black traveled from the US to England to spend Christmas with Daley's family, a gesture that cemented their bond. Daley's story is a modern-day fairy tale.
He went from a cautious young man fearing public judgment to a happily married father, showing the world that age gaps are irrelevant when the emotional connection provides the safety and support needed to thrive.
These stories remind us that age gap romances in Hollywood are rarely just about the numbers. They are complex narratives of power, passion, and a search for connection. From the tragic manipulation of Liberace to the inspiring family life of Tom Daley, each relationship offers a different lesson on what it means to love in the public eye.
While some of these men faced heartbreaking scandals, arrests, and public breakups, others managed to build enduring partnerships that defied the odds and the critics. Whether they ended in a shottered picture frame on Instagram or a golden anniversary, these couples challenged societal norms and forced a conversation about love, maturity, and compatibility. As we look at these relationships, it's clear that everyone deserves a chance at happiness, regardless of the generation they were born in. Hopefully, as society evolves, the focus will shift from the age difference to the genuine joy these couples share.